I mean, as we look at our lobby here, we can see a lot of players we've gotten to know very well over the course of the tournament and the course of today in particular. We can see ourselves, we've got ourselves, as expected, a fairly substantial French bias, but we are seeing the Polish players making it in as well. With a decent amount of representation, a couple of players, it's not too shabby.
Yeah, decent representation here across the board with all of the different countries and even continents featuring here. So nice to see, good to get good representation going on, and playing for a spot in the Rising Legend finals later on in the year, definitely worthwhile, as well as some prize pool money. That's definitely something that's going to encourage players, help them keep doing what they're doing. Of course, there are the individual players' streams and whatnot as well, chat. I don't know if we have a command for that. I don't want to bait production here. We might do, we might not. But if we do, if you know of the players, you should definitely go checking out them. You can see their Twitter's at least linked. Go follow them on Twitter. Go find their streams and support them as best you can, as well as supporting the stream here today. You can, of course, also check us out on Twitter at TFT Esports. EMEA, and that's the one. But we're going to be going into Game 5 now. Counterfeit checking in with double 61. Quick, easy Sunfire on the set, should he want it.
Yeah, I mean, for double 61, I think they've got a lot on their mind coming into this game. Again, they are our EMEA regional champion right now. And I think, honestly, that 8th in the previous game was probably quite good for them, because up until that point, they were looking like they were going to be pretty much untouchable on top of the table with Coco. Now they realize that the rest of the field is doing everything they possibly can to try and catch up with our French players.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of honor in the play here today, and the Mirage itself is Warlord's honor, so keep an eye on that, chat. I know you're going to be wondering what it is as we go throughout the game. That was the Mirage for last game as well, so we could see players looking to pick up that again. Could see Mirage getting some action in this lobby as well, so keep an eye on it. We'll see if there's another prismatic opener. And does Coco have do they have Cluttered Mind already?
It's certainly feeling like they're getting ready for it. I mean, I'm really excited to see what the Orcans will be. I'm also hoping it's going to be something impactful early on, because, when we're working with players at this level of proficiency, that given the opportunity to run away with the game, they absolutely will. So our first augment will be gold, and it's going to be re-rolled. We haven't actually seen Hustler coming through very much, but it's an interesting choice. It won't be today's choice, though. Instead, just our ornaments.
Yeah, it makes sense to go for the reroll there, absolutely, and even more sense to then go for the Forge. Now, the Blitz hook is quite a it's got quite a good review, right? A lot of people seem to like it as an option. It seems pretty strong.
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially since we're seeing so many J players who do tend to enjoy the fact they can put their carry right back in the far corner and didn't just forget about it ever really taking the aggro. That's a nice way to make sure they have to stay honest. As we check in with Guillosko. Now, if there's an augment which I feel could define a player more clearly, calculated loss for Guillosko is perfect.
Yeah, calculated loss. That's basically what he did last game, just with the high roller augment. Chose his moment when he wanted to start win streaking with the Nunu 3, Deja 2. Not going to be so guaranteed this time in composition. We'll have to see what they can put together, and we're seeing Tiaan's board here. And Heimer versus the Melee mashup here. Got the Gadget Expert as well, so we saw that doing well all throughout this tournament, and yesterday especially. So see what Tiaan can put together. This is really vital, right? These last two games, you're in contention for a first place. It comes down to these last two games. So there's no hope you've had your coffee, hope you've had your lunch, hope you're paying close attention to what you're going to be making, or the decisions you're going to be making now.
I mean, what we can see here for Tiaan is they've gone for a very popular decision, which is to bring in the Gadget Expert early on. We know how strong this can be, not just at the beginning of the game where you'd expect, but all the way towards the end to provide pressure. Senna, a great item carrier for it, as the first hook of the game, at least on screen, comes through. Both of these players undefeated so far, but I think Tian's in a pretty reasonable spot. I might be about to eat my words,
I
though.
think Coco takes this one. I mean, it's a big knock there from the center, but center's only level 1 at the moment. Good items, though. Gadget Expert with the static shiv immediately. Like, you're kind of chilling with that. But still, the center 2 of Coco's board is just too strong.
Oh boy, yeah, you're absolutely right. I was completely missing on that one. So Guillosko goes down to last place, and we're left with Double and Coco. Why? Those seem like familiar names up at the top of the table. Of course, with Double needing to make up some more ground. We knew that it couldn't last, though, to have both Double and Coco up there, you know, tied face to face. Something had to give, and it did.
Yes, something had to give, and something will have to continue to be giving here in this game. Checking on in with Jedusor, who actually, we didn't have them, I believe, in the lobby of last game, but I think they did quite well in the lobby that they were in, because they're quite high up there on the points, in a decent position to do well today. And so far with their start, they've already got 3 Shimmer Scale in, got the Forge Eternal Winter there as well, so very good item. And they're going to have a Diamond Hands quite nice and early here.
Yeah, and that's going to be paying off for pretty much the entire of the game. So they actually end up getting a win through, which is not bad at all. Small note on what we're seeing from Skipaeus here. They will be, you know, they've got the Essence Theft coming in, which by itself isn't going to give you a massive, you know, spike in terms of power, but it does let you get that early Lulu to get your trainers off to the races.
Off to the races they go, as the players are going to be racing here for the second carousel of the game. That's a nice Anivia setup right there for any Jade players, right? And Guillosko grabs it up. I'm going to assume that they're probably playing... I mean, if you look at their items as well, right? They've got a couple tiers there. Which if they're playing a Jade game, that's going to be a decent item holder until they maybe switch to... they could switch to Mirage later. They could maintain the Jade. Have to see.
Although, I mean, that is definitely one of the things about the set right now. There are a lot of very good AP item holders you can kind of upgrade. I think that was most exemplified when we saw, you know, the Morellos being very popular from before. As Double 61, I thought for one wonderful second they might actually be going for a set reroll comp, but instead it's just bong out as much as possible because you've got yourself a Cluttered Mind.
Cluttered Mind. Getting a lot of good options here as well. Obviously, holding so many units on the board, they're bound to get something 2-starred at some point. They got the 2-star set, the 2-star Senna, and then also Sejuani if they want it.
So, if we think back to our previous games, which had the mind augments in them, they really did accelerate the game tremendously. I mean, while you still have to put a lot of your gold onto the bench in the early going, which does stop you from building up your economy immediately, the late game value for this is absurd. I'm sure Double 61 is looking in this game to try and land themselves a first and make up for that 8th.
Yeah, so something I want to ask you as well, actually, when we're talking about Cluttered Mind. What do you prefer, Counterfeit? Cluttered or Clear Mind? Like, do you have a preference? Do you think one is just inherently better? Obviously, you're taking an econ sacrifice. If you take Cluttered, you're taking the I can't upgrade my units necessarily, or I have to be very careful and selective when I choose to do that and populate the board. If you take Clear Mind, so there's pros and cons to both, but do you have a preference in which you think is actually better, stronger, or preference?
I think in terms of ease of use, Cluttered is always going to be better because you've got options to work with. It's never going to be hard to upgrade your units, move them off the bench, and then put something else on the bench to fill it back up again. What you do get from the Clear Mind is, while your board is probably going to end up being relatively weak, you can get a good loss streak going and then add on to the XP you're getting from Clear Mind and get to levels really, really quickly. Double, though, I mean, they're on the win streak right now, even without a direct combat augment. They're just getting so many good units in, the 2-stars, as you pointed out before, and they're going to be giving Guillosko another very carefully and calculated loss.
Yes. Probably not calculated as nicely as he would like, because he's losing a lot of HP, and he's not taking fantastically calculated losses, but the losses they are nonetheless. So, hey, that's something for them. I do want to follow up, Counterfeit. I'm going to draw you back in, okay? You're not getting free of my mind, okay? So, we saw in the previous lobby... or wait, it may have been the previous lobby. I think it may have been the one before that, where we had the... Yes, it was game 3, where we had like a whole host of Cluttered and Clear Minds, and that affected the tempo of the lobby. We only have one cluttered or clear mine currently in this lobby. Do you think that in itself is enough to affect the overall tempo of the lobby?
I think it's a less noticeable effect. It's actually to say when we've only got one person doing it. But
I'd agree.
I think if Double hadn't finished out 8th last time round, I think there would be more of a reaction from the lobby, because certainly, when we're looking at the overall scores here, Coco is at the top with 26, Guillosko just below them on 24, and most of the other players around 20, 22. If we were in a world where Double could threaten to get away from the pack in such a way that it became an unwinnable tournament for most people, then I think everybody would be racing to catch them. In this case, with Double dropping down a little bit to join the main body of the pack, I think it's going to have a little bit less of an effect than it would have otherwise, but it will still push us a little bit.
Yeah, and that chat that Counterfeit is referring to is obviously, of course, the overall scoreboard, because if you look at this lobby, they're still up at 100 HP, win streaking nice and breezy. And checking in with Skipaeus here, who's... Counterfeit, what do they have on their board?
They've got trainers, they've got jades, they've got everything a growing board needs. I mean,
and one particular target that I'm even got my eyes locked in on. You see up at the front, little Edge of Night carrier.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is definitely an avenue which you can take for Skipaeus here, who, they've got the evokers in, they've got the essence theft, so they can just try and play the variation of Jade, which is going to be bringing the evokers in, and therefore, if you've got the Lulu in there already, why don't you just play trainers as well? But we've got ourselves another augment coming in, and we've got the chance to see some components join the field. As we check back in with Jedusor, they have got that very early diamond hands locked down.
Yeah, and some good siphon items as well. And now it's dragons all over the board. Pick and choose what you like. Guillosko here going for a Deja Mirage game. So clearly they went, hey, I went faster than last game. I would do that again.
Oh yeah, I mean, as was talked about in the previous games, Wars isn't necessarily the absolute must-take augment or must-take version of Mirage, but when you've got the Spatula in there as well, you can start looking towards potentially 8 Mirage, and that's a ton of AP, a ton of health, and Nunu in particular does amazingly well with that.
Yeah, and something as well, just getting helped out from our production team here. So apparently, Double 61 was offered Dragon Horde as an augment and actually declined it. Which Counterfeit, what do you think about that? Because when you look at how Dragon Horde and Dragon Alliance has done over the course of this weekend, it's actually probably one of the best augments that we've seen when it has come up. Double 61 says, no, I don't want any part of it.
If it was Coco, I would be more surprised, but it's a real statement of intent to say there that I'm going to give up on a very good but narrow augment to go for a good but less narrow. So, I don't know, you're right, it is surprising. We'll see if it ends up paying off eventually, but I mean, every eye is going to be on Double, every eye is going to be on, the top of the table always. As we look across the board and see what we've got here, so we have actually got ourselves 2 Mirage players in the lobby, I believe, with Travis picking up the Mirage and the Cavalier, I believe the Devastating Charge.
Devastating Charge, yeah. Yeah, so this was actually a key feature, I think, yesterday as well, because of how well it had performed, and coupling that with Mirage. We know Cavalier and Mirage just go hand in hand. If you actually look at our statistics as well, Counterfeit, across the course of the weekend, we've seen players do especially the players in our top 60 now, do very well with anything containing Cavalier or Mirage. So we'll see what Travis can put together. And Counterfeit, by the way, I realize I've asked you like 16 different hard-hitting questions so far this cast.
Come on,
I'm going to slow down. I'm not going to hit you with everything. I'm going to give you a little bit of a break. Give you a lie-in.
No.
No, you want more?
They're good.
All right.
More questions.
I'll keep them coming. Well, chat, if you have any questions for us, send them our way as well.
One thing I wanted to talk about with the Devastating Charge, though it didn't work out well there, is we're really in the kind of the win more section. Cavaliers, they get the reset, they get the extra armor when they get kills. The Devastating Charge makes those initial charges stronger. So ideally, you charge in, kill something, charge to something else, kill that too, and then you're off to the races because everything dies really quickly. The problem comes if there's a front line that's strong enough to deny those charges and you get stuck on there forever, and that kind of combo of play just never happens.
Just charge, and charge again is what I took from that counterfeit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of those where it's like that multiplicative effect where it's like, because I charge, I'm gaining power there, I'm going to get a kill, I'm going to charge again, and it just keeps rolling and rolling. So we'll see what devastating charge can put together here. Checking in with double 61 now. Still win streaking through late stages of stage 3. Running a board that in general does very well. We've got the trainer, we've got Nomsy sitting there looking pretty, got this center with the thieves, and overall, like, has a pretty decent board. No combat augments though, something to note, but they're doing well early even without those combat augments, so quite impressive really.
Well, I mean, absolutely. That's a really good point to note here, because I think this is why for double 61 it's been so important they find their 2 stars, because that's where their board strength is coming from. They are a little close to losing that 8-round streak,
and
though.
I called it.
You cursed
in a way,
them,
I kind of cursed double 61, didn't I? My apologies.
I don't think you kind of cursed them. I think you directly cursed them.
Yeah, I think I cursed them pretty heavy, actually. My bad, double 61. I'll send you a sub after the game or something, my guy.
No, it's the other way round, Sai. They need to sub to us so that we don't curse them.
yeah, actually, yeah. Sub to this channel here and now, and then double, we will no longer curse you. But speaking of curses,
yeah,
Visa here with a very cursed-looking soy. The soy boy himself, Visa.
Oh boy, I'm feeling bad about picking that one up from the market. But
yes.
Visa, they've got themselves a pretty good setup right now. They've got they've got their COU with of course everyone's favorite Titans, going pretty aggressive with the Infinity Edge as well. But we're seeing it's working well even against this relatively early game focused board we've got from Tiaan, and even if it's by a small margin, that's Visa turning around what had been a little bit of a spicy early game, potentially now into a big win streak.
Yeah, and here we go, checking back in with Travis. They've actually got a Cav emblem that they've handcrafted themselves. That will come to fruition later on in the game when they can kind of stack that up, get the Deja in and whatnot. But they're very delicately looking, or very precariously looking with their HP right now. Tiaan's another name that's in a precarious position at 43 HP. I know I keep going on about it, but I love to talk about the players. Tiaan, coming into this tournament, when I spoke to him, said that if he can keep his mental in check, that he thinks he can win the whole weekend. Wow. He's at 43 HP. I want to see him keep that mental in check for this game.
But that's, it's such a big thing about tournament play. You've got the players who've got this, who practice, and have the support system around them, that they're able to be more resilient when things turn against them in the game. It's so easy to end up getting dizzy, to end up getting tilted and throwing away opportunities which you may have to come back, which may be unlikely, but you still got to try for them. But before we get too much further, I do believe we need to have a quick word about some trees.
Absolutely, we can talk about trees, we can grow trees. If we use a very a command that I personally think is more important than the TFT eggs command is !TFT forest, where chat you can get a 10% discount. You can help grow trees in I think it's just around the world in general, but it's a campaign that we're working right now in tandem with Riot, and if we hit 1,000 trees planted by the end of this weekend, then Riot will double that amount. So it's a big ask, but you can have a direct impact on your world, on the environment, just playing some TFT here and getting involved with this. So !TFT forest, find out more information on that, get a discount, and plant some trees. I got no good pun coming out of that one, Counterfeit. You're going to have to take it away from me.
Well, we'll come back to that one later on as, oh wow, this is amazing news for Tiaan. We've just checked in with them. They've got a Xayah with 2 static shivs. Now we've got Scorch. This is the emblem I don't believe we've seen at all on stream so far, but is a massive enabler for the Rage Ring comp. It's gonna happen here, Sai. The fire still burns.
And a Hecarim looking mighty pretty as well in the shop. They can throw that in as well if they want to. Though they haven't picked it up yet, but I feel like that's got to be something that they're going to grab eventually. maybe they have something else in mind. But yeah, this is looking real good. The double static Shiv Xayah. This Xayah, I wish we could see the damage done tab at the end of this round, because unless she gets absolutely pounced on, should be pretty good.
All right, well, we shall see. This is the beginning of the turnaround for Tiaan from the bottom of the table, up against Jedusor with a very strong setup of Whispers. So we'll see the extra damage being poured out, and I think in just a second, once we get the Xayah pulled back again, I can imagine Jedusor's
going to charge.
It's going to disappear.
Going the wrong direction.
Though.
This is perfect for Xayah, but there's barely a front line left. Xayah's still going to win this one. Easy pickings.
I think we're going to be seeing almost this exact same fight a few more times before we are done here. So I think this is really big for Tiaan. They haven't managed to get themselves a first place so far today, but this is a situation where it could be in the cards.
Okay, you know what? Didn't want the Hecarim. Xiaoyu instead. I respect it. They're going for this Jade Xayah. Not something that I personally am super confident with, like in terms of how they're going to construct this. Is this a comp that is... I know we don't really see much of Xayah, period, but is this a unique build?
I think we're kind of putting Xayah in the same position we would otherwise be putting the Corki. So we're kind of fundamentally working with a relatively similar composition. Tiaan has got the beginnings of their streak going here, but we're up against Guillosko, who is doing pretty well for themselves. They're on their own win streak. Unfortunately, Xayah won't be able to shrug off too many of those wind blasts.
Yes, we can't quite see Deja's HP, but I feel like she might be pretty untouched from this Xayah, and she is, but can Xayah get another cast off? No, Deja's gonna have the final say in this one.
Oh boy, maybe I've overstated how strong Tiaan's gonna be. Certainly, they've got a good setup here, but yeah, I'm kind of with you here that the split between Jade and Rage Ring means they're always going to be a little bit weaker than they could be otherwise. Ideally, they'd have a set 3 or a full Rage Ring board, but that just isn't really possible right now. Late game, maybe the Shyvana comes in though, and that can all change.
That's the thing, right? It's like if they can get Xayah 3, and everybody else in the lobby sells their entire board, maybe Xayah 3 will be the thing. Do you think Tiaan is making the best of a bad situation, or do you think they actually have confidence and faith in Xayah and the potential of her?
I think they've got to at this point. There's only going to be so many units you can really make this kind of setup work with, but we've got plenty of other people to scout around with. Of course, our best friend, Double61, who was playing the strongest board before, and speaking of Xayahs, there's one coming along right now.
Well, Shyvana is definitely in the mix, right? The interesting decision of Thief's Glove's items, of course, you have to pray to the Thief's Glove gods and hope that Shyvana's going to give you something good, or that it's going to give you something good for the Shyvana. Silas out in front, the Lone Ranger here. Really good items, only level 1 though. Big Blitz hook comes in from the Nunu. Nunu gets slammed with an item as well. I didn't actually see which item it was at the final moment there. Trying, it seems, Coco to hold on to as much HP as they can in this lobby. Shyvana breathes molten hot lava, but Nunu is kind of unfazed. Corki, though, gets absolutely obliterated by the Shyvana, and now, as much as Nunu was unfazed before, when you've got 6 little minions attacking you, there's not much you can do.
Alright, worked out pretty well there. I wasn't quite convinced on the Thieves' Gloves been coming in for the Shyvana, but yeah, worked extremely well. Notable as well, Double61 is absolutely loaded. For them to be at the top of the table and still in this position, yeah, I mean, this is what we get. They had the cloth in mind. They'd be able to save so much money they'd otherwise be spending on leveling up. Instead, we're going to get to level 9. We're going to get to a ridiculous board. It's what we've been seeing all day.
Something to note as well, they've got a couple units on their bench that they are saving, right? If they want to be super efficient, they'd be holding 1 cost units all the way along. But if you see, they've got a Swain as well, so they are going to be making swaps to their board, I believe, when they go 9, when they get Shyvana 2 especially. But even Shyvana 1 here with this Thief's Glove combo, Archangels and blue buff, is going to be doing some decent damage, but gets focused from the Cavalier Yone, and that, coupled with the Deja at the back, is going to be enough to settle down Double61 for just a little bit.
So that's something we see from the devastated Mirage board. which is, I'm trying to coin the term there, even though it's probably not going to end up being used. The devastating charge, when it does go off, it rips through a board like it's nothing. But for Guillosko, they're doing the same thing as well. They're up to 6 Mirage. They are going to be hurt here, I think, by having, Travis stealing away the Nunus that would otherwise be a central part of their comp.
Yes, absolutely. But there's a few players in this lobby that are fighting for those Dejas, fighting for these Mirage comps. And not everyone's going to be happy, but Guillosko is going to be happy. He's got Deja 2 now, and that's a mighty scary looking Deja. Got the IE as well as the Jeweled Lotus, so very, just looking really good. Got no attack speed item, but I don't think it really matters as long as the frontline can stall long enough.
Yeah, I mean, when the shots go off, I think the Archangels helps sort of mitigate that somewhat because, while you're not casting, the Archangel is building up for a larger and larger shot. But you're right, it's completely down to that shot being good, or at least a second shot, because you're not going to end up having those late shots until, you're being overrun on the back line. For Coco, though, we know that they are the one in a pole position right now, but they are not in pole position in this lobby. They are almost dead.
Yes, they are almost dead, so they've got to be careful. Yeah, sorry, Counterfeit, I had a moment. I love, by the way, this tab. I know that chat's been talking about it as well, the economy tab on the right-hand side of the screen. That's just so nice to have. Apparently, NA don't have it yet, but I'm sure, NA, they're stuck in the past, Counterfeit. They're a little bit outdated, but they will get it eventually, I'm sure. Beautiful widget to have. And now we see Coco here going for the same composition for a 3rd game in a row. It's their preferred comfy pick, I would assume. They've got the Mage Spat on the Sona all 3 times, but this time, this is their worst performance with it so far, as I think they're about to get knocked out. I don't fancy Nunu's chances against a Siphon.
I mean, Coco barely holds on. Vita going down to single-digit HP as well. Yeah, I mean, that was way too close for comfort. You're right, the Cypher Mage comp has been working its way around and doing very well indeed, but we are sort of really narrowed in on the 2 vectors of attack here for Coco. We need to have the Sona get a good hit. We need to make sure that Siphon doesn't get knocked out early. If at least one of those things can be true, then you can roll over. But if you lose your backline, if Siphon ends up hitting stuff that doesn't matter, then your comp just falls to pieces.
Yeah, I actually had a moment there. I thought Coco was getting knocked out. I don't know why. I just got dizzy in myself. But no, Coco's still in this, going up against a mirror match here. Who's stronger, the Double Archangel's Mage Sona or the single Morello Sona? We'll have to see. Big Bottle comes in on the back line, but Sona of Coco is getting hard focused by this Yasuo 2-star, which is looking mighty, mighty strong. I think Skipaeus takes this one against Coco. This is gonna be it. Death by cringe, chat. Coco gets eliminated in 8th place and Visa holds on.
I mean, this is the news that everybody in the tournament was waiting for. Have the top player go out in 8th, and that opens the door massively for everybody else to leapfrog them. This, I mean, in terms of what our last game is going to look like today to determine our champion, that's great news for us as well, because it means that there's so many more people it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great for the player, right? Like, as a player, you're there just getting frustrated, but for us, we love a good story, right? As casters, as players, as viewers, right? Like, we love seeing just these great stories come together and people to be given opportunities where you think that they are out of the running, or you think they had a clear win, and then it's like, oh, things are getting shifted up. And as things get shifted up, Vice's Corki gets chewed up by this charging Siphon. Siphon's just so deadly all throughout this competition. We saw some of the stats earlier on in today, but Siphon's just been doing so well. If one Siphon doesn't look like it's going to win a lobby, a different Siphon does. But the soy boys are out. Any soy boys in chat? Because Vice has won, and they're winning this fight.
Wow. Oh my days. But we get to see a little bit of the kind of the trifecta. I think it was laid out, I can't remember the name of the person already. It did a really great guide explaining kind of how the dragons all interact together. And that Siphon, does really well when going after these softer targets like the Cork in the backline. But when it comes to a one-on-one fight with a Xiaoyu, oftentimes it's not even close.
Yeah, oftentimes not even close at all, but I don't know, Counterfeit. This game in general is very, very close. The lobby as a whole, nobody has above 50 HP right now. We're at stage 5-5. We've only got one person out of the lobby so far. Shyvana 2 from Double 61. I want to check in on that as soon as we can, but for now you can see Tiaan still doesn't have the Shyvana 2. They've got one more in their shop. They just need one more, but they have no gold. They have barely any health. This is all heating up. This is all bubbling up for us.
Well, for Tiaan, I mean, they have moved off of Jade when we saw before. We were kind of criticizing them staying on that for as long as they did, but they're basically as good as they can end up with. They have to rely on win streaking to get gold back now, because if they lose streak, they're just dead. But we're up against our friends, the Mirages. Keep your eye out for the damage that's coming in from that Shyvana. It's going to be pretty ludicrous, and the Cavaliers get caught in the front line, which means they aren't charging anywhere.
That Shyvana was deadly. I was watching the Deja the whole fight as well. Double Rage Blade Deja, but just it stood no chance. And now we have another Double Rage Blade Deja as well. Just not happening. Oh, well, it happened for that Deja at least. Sorry.
Well, with Viso getting knocked out, as you said, this is an incredibly close lobby. We do not have anybody up at the top now that Double 61 has started taking the L's, which means we're in this really explosive part of the game where one big loss can send you tumbling from what you thought was a safe position into going out in the bottom 4.
Yeah, Vice said that the board was actually really strong, right? We saw with the Xiaoyu, it looked very comfortable for them, but yeah, the state of the rest of the lobby is also so strong. I don't know actually who Visa played up against, but I mean, we'll have to see some of these other opponents. I want to see a Double 61 later on with that 2-star Shyvana and see what that's doing. But right now we got Siphon v Siphon once more. And we're going to see who can take this one. There's chaos in the middle of the field. But there's just one Siphon left here going up against 7 units. It's not going to be enough for Jedusor there as they go out in 6th place.
That's devastating for them as well. They were one of the lowest points players coming into this Lobby 1, which means that they're going to be almost certainly pushed down into Lobby 2 for our final game, making their chances of winning out the entire thing extremely remote. Guillosko, though, we player from before, up to now 7 Mirage. They, as of yet, do not have a Yasuo to call their own.
Yeah, that's the vital one there, right? The vital case. They are level 8. So Guillosko, he's still got decent odds. He's got the Bardin as well, so he's going to be getting the Dutes every round, increasing those odds of finding the Yasuo. But we also know that Yasuo is being used and has been 2-starred by other players in the lobby. So not going to be so easy finding this Yasuo. They're rolling down now desperately, selling things, buying things, trying to get these legendary units grabbed up to increase their chance of finding this Yasuo here. But it's just Bards and Sorakas all the way down.
Oh boy, that's got us smart, and that's the problem when you are in a position, you're on 7 HP, you know your time in this game is limited. At least Guillosko has got some points in the bank to make this presumably incoming loss hurt a little bit less, as they see the Yasuo 2 on the other side of the field. Double 61 says, oh yeah, wait, were you looking for this? Is this something you put down somewhere?
This is Mage Yasuo. This is going to be very... well, I'd say very disgusting. Almost gets shut down. Is now going to get killed by this Deja. That was quite surprising. I was following that Yasuo the whole of the round, and then I looked to the left, and the board's gone. Deja's just been absolutely making light work of it. So Guillosko has another round to try and find this Yasuo. They're doing everything that they can counterfeit, but there's nothing left. There's nothing left. I got nothing left. We won't
get to see Tiaan go for the Shyvana 2 because they are all kinds of dead, which is amazing news, of course, for Guillosko. They managed to hang on for this spot. Travis, who came into this on 20 points, has so far been 4th, 3rd, and 8th. I'm sure they're very, very happy to be at this point with a win streak.
Yeah, with a win streak, and the rest of the lobby is low health, so you know that the rest of the lobby only has a round or two to really do anything with their composition to try and beat Travis here, but at the same time, they can't undermine themselves going up against the rest of the state of the lobby. who counters who right now? Looking at this board, it looks like when Deja gets his cast off, that's going to be the counter. Nunu holding off against the Siphon, but now Deja turns in the wrong direction. Siphon's going to have time to charge away, heal up, dispatch of Guillosko's remaining units, and it comes down to Deja. Guillosko's going to go out there, didn't find the Yasuo, gets taken out in 4th. Still in a decent position though, but double 61... They are, let me just double check. Double 61 is currently 2 points beneath Guillosko. So if double 61 dies in 3rd, Guillosko should still be above them. If my math checks out, Coco went in 8th. So it's going to be between double 61 and Guillosko here. And who's going to be in 1st place? Obviously, second lobby dependent here. We do have another 8 players that we're not able to see right now. We'll have to see how they did and how they're doing. But this is a very tight race, Counterfeit.
Absolutely is. Double 61 and Travis, one of them's got to fall right here and now. We remember from before, the charges, very feast or famine. If they get the kills, you'll see those charging Nunus, the charging Mirages across the board. But the Deja's going to get taken out on the back line, which means this one is done. Travis will have to settle for 3rd.
So this is great news for double 61, not great news for Travis. At the same time, Skipaeus here, who before this lobby was sitting in 5th, also with 22 points. Actually, yes, tied for points as well. So for Skipaeus here, this is fantastic. They need to beat double 61 if they want to leapfrog double 61, right? They're both at the same points going into this lobby. Double 61 gets his Soraka 2 here. That's going to help their composition. Skipaeus is on the win streak. They're the one to beat.
I mean, double 61... and under any other circumstances, we see our little reroll there on the Thieves' Gloves. You think this looks like an almost unstoppable board, but we have seen it happen. Shyvana versus Siphon. I mean, this is going to be a hell of a brawl.
This is going to be a hell of a brawl. We've got, I guess, decent items on the Yasuo. At least they're offensive and not just completely redundant. But we're going to see this level 2 Yasuo and the Shyvana against the Siphon, the 4 Whisper comp that is going to be trying to battle off through this midfield here. Yasuo is doing a solid job, but is about to die now. Siphon's still going on. I think Siphon's going to do it. I think Skipaeus could win this round. In which case, Yasuo's holding on here. I think Siphon's going to go down. Yeah, it's going to be double 61 that wins this round.
Yeah, I think the Edge of Night was the crucial thing there. Skipaeus, are they dead? No! Oh, so slightly alive.
That was ping-ponging back and forth. I was for sure in the belief that Skipaeus had that there. But no, double 61. The Yasuo just held on. He just kept holding on.
I think we're seeing on both sides of the field. In fact, we even got a rolled Edge of Night for the Shyvana here. Having those Edge of Nights really throws off the fights that they would normally play.
Yeah, the Edge of Night's definitely making a difference. Double Edge of Night for double. And now we're going into... This is absolutely our last round of Game 5. And either player here, whoever wins this, is going to be our leaderboard winner so far in Game 5. So this is super important for either one of these players here. Double 61, an incredibly accomplished player, as well as Skipaeus, right? Going into this final round, Shyvana's all over the field, dealing with this Nomsy now. Siphon's taking a chomp, taking a turn, but it's Siphon against everybody else on the board. It's not going to happen. Skipaeus is going to be out with this one. Double 61 takes the lobby.
Double 61's gotta be smiling right now. That was such a spectacular turnaround. If there's been anyone who started to doubt what Double 61 was capable of